Hi, everybody. Homework series here. Okay, this one is a simple one. Hopefully now you've seen a couple of these homework series, and what we call them is Remember This, because frequently when we're instructing our clients in the studio and now through this online format, frequently we get those questions of, wow, how am I going to remember this? When you start to learn body work and the art of exercise, not moving your body around for no purpose, when you learn the art of exercise, you receive a lot of information. Sometimes the information comes from your teacher, right? Feedback about how to even your body out. Feedback about what the exercise larger goals are. And then your body and your brain start to give you lots of sensory feedback as well. Okay, so this part of homework series has to do with something universal in body work and exercise practices. It's three-dimensional breathing. So in our studio, we call it 3D breath. And many times we will offer this for our clients who are beginning, right? Beginning their practice. And then along the way, as someone's workout develops with us, the ongoing active client who's building, much more refinement in their practice, and then they're also building sections, right, of workouts that have really particular exercises for their body. We have to remind those clients to really utilize the breath in its full abilities. Okay, so these are some of the ways that I find helpful. Again, these are ideas. There's a lot of facts in here about the breath, but it's definitely just in my delivery. There are many ways to learn really good breath. Okay, so here's some few. So what we're gonna need is we're gonna need a small seated stool. So you'll kind of see here. I'm gonna use our little stools, and I'm also gonna use, if you own one, it's helpful to do your hip release prior to that, okay? So I'm gonna just sit on this little ball comfortably. I'm gonna put it right in between my sits bones, and then hopefully the front of the pelvis and the back of my hips, okay? So you can kind of see me, right? You can see me just resting on it, okay? Now this is pretty user-friendly for most people. There is a little bit more, you can do this on the floor seated. When you're on the floor, there is a lot more pressure because of gravity. So sometimes body structures sometimes they find it a little more aggressive, okay? So this is just like simple, middle of the road, okay? If you don't have something that's round, then you can just keep this part of the little practice, right? The little homework, you can keep that in mind and sit on maybe make a little bolster out of a towel and position it under the hips, okay? So we're gonna wanna be on the seated object for just a few minutes. You can go all the way up to 5 minutes because 5 minutes is structurally the amount of time that takes my body's soft tissues to actually change. So you can tell this is like a breath exercise. It's nice to do this maybe at the end of the day and the start of the morning, okay? So pretty much I have the camera viewed here at like my bust line at the front of the ribs, and then you can see my hips really well. So that's why my head's cut off. Hopefully that works for everybody. So here at my bust line and where my ribs open lives my diaphragm, my respiratory diaphragm. Okay, and then here in the base of my pelvis, spanning from two sits bones from side to side, right, sits bone to sits bone, and then tailbone to pubic bone, lives my second diaphragm called the pelvic floor. So there's a lot of confusing information out there about the pelvic floor, so we're not going to go down that road, but if you have questions about this, please reach out to us at the studio email or individually as a teacher. Have that discussion with your teacher because there is very confusing information about strengthening, I don't teach pelvic floor exercise anymore. I teach people how to breathe and put their systems together. If that doesn't work for them, sometimes I refer out to a specialist, a special physical therapist, okay? So your breath diaphragm here and your pelvis diaphragm act as a compression chamber. They act as a cylinder, so you can kind of see this nice dome here, and hopefully you can have the sense of that dome there. So what really happens when you breathe is the diaphragm lowers and expands three-dimensionally, if it can, has the freedom to do that, and it applies a little pressure against my organs, okay? As I exhale, and presses into the base of the pelvis. As I exhale, my diaphragms return up to their original place, or up to their original, you know, resting spot, if you will, okay? So really, three-dimensional breath, we're gonna just kind of practice the down and up first. Use your hands, and we're going to inhale, lower the hands, and actually kind of spread them out. And you can visualize the diaphragm being like maybe the top of a nice container. And so you kind of, or saran wrap even, and you kind of pull the saran wrap evenly over the container, and you might feel a little pressure into your hips. Just that. When you exhale, this is gonna come this way and then just kind of rise back up, okay? Passively on the exhale, if you will, not a ton of muscles there. Inhaling, you can see me kind of breathe into my cylinder, and it looks like it gets a little fuller, right? And then exhaling, I exhale out of my cylinder, and it looks like it just kind of gets a little bit more flattened, a little bit more, you know, narrow on the sides, the front and back, okay? So we've been here for about the same, like for about the time that we need. So come off of your myofascial release ball, and then sit on the chair, and then just give it a kind of try. Just kind of see how that breath is working for you here. Okay, so nice and even with the pelvis. Maybe I can get my head here. Here we go. So I have established a knowledge, the facts of my breath is my breath can go downwards and up. So I'm just going to quietly explore that for a second. I haven't gotten to do this for a long time. Feels good, right? All right. So if you had the massage tool, or if you were on a bolster that gave you round feedback, you might observe that when you inhale now, not only does your the respiratory diaphragm, the pelvis itself adjusts a little bit, and there's little micro movements that happen internally that actually, as the diaphragm goes down, it's a little bit more like the hips go to the side. There's a natural expansion in the pelvis bones that feels like they just kind of go to the side a little bit. Not a big deal, but it's in there. It's organically happening. Exhaling, again, just settling and not putting a ton of muscular actions to that yet. Inhaling low into the body and getting movement in the hips. And then exhaling, just inviting a little bit of that breath to come in. Okay, so 3D breath is that hopefully you can feel that these directions are not impossible. They're not unnatural, okay? So let's go to the sides now. So when we inhale too, we can fill up the ribs to the sides laterally. And then when we exhale, this really, really lovely funneling action happens. Okay, so here we're going to get a little bit more into the directions and muscular actions. So inhale. right? Let yourself get lots of breath in here, and then exhale. Sideways and in. Oh, my body was so happy to do that when I needed it. Inhaling and exhaling. All right, good. Now turn sideways so that you can kind of have that visual also here. I'm gonna let myself expand side, but I'm also gonna have a natural tummy, a natural abdominal wall, really. And I'm gonna see if I can get my abdominals to release, because it's not my abdominals' job to hold my spine upright. Isn't that amazing? It's the combination of things in my body which gives me a tall spine. So I'm going to get a nice long abdominal wall, and I'm going to breathe in my mid back here. Yay. And then I exhale and I put that together, right? My little funnel. So this is nice and wide. And then I have bottom and top coming together. Cool. All right. So one more time for the front and back. So make the abdominals long in the front and feel like you expand your mid back. And then practice keeping the mid back wide, and then just connecting that nice little funnel idea here. Okay, so if we put this together, we have up and down, we have side to side, I feel like an amoeba, side to side, and I also have an understanding information that the front and back of my body moves, okay? So we'll try it. Like I said, I'll face you first, and then we'll, I'll pivot so you can see kind of both ways. We're going to put it together. So keep the weight of your hips naturally balanced. Let the legs be comfortable here. And inhaling. Lowering the breath into the hips. You got that nice width. Got my back expanded. That one's tough for me. And then as I exhale, I'm going to bring my top and bottom together. With my muscles, my top and bottom come together. My sides come together. My back stays wide. And I just have that little sense of like bringing my front and back together. Oh my gosh, my back was so happy to do this. Inhale, it's like a little back massage. And then exhale, top and bottom. I'm pushing my feet down lightly. What's happening is I'm actually really internally connecting my breath. So you see me levitating a bit. One more from the front. Exhale. This way, and this way. And so now you're in this container. Remember when we spoke, I'm just kind of keeping my muscle actions in the container, but I can still support my breath from here. And actually it feels a lot better to speak and articulate words from this place, because I'm not like raspy in my throat or something. So basically, okay, I am supporting the actions around my body, and you can kind of see that intentional lift that you get, right? So let's go sideways so you can kind of check it out both ways and feel like you have a very clear idea on three-dimensional breathing. So we inhale. The breath moves into the hips. You can see, for me, that's a pretty strong visual. I go to the side. Oh, that one's tougher. I'm going to keep that span of muscle wide, which means I have to make sure that I let myself, I have to relax my abdominals. I can't do that one well. And then when I exhale, there's definitely a sense of bringing top and bottom together, lively hips, sides, and then that nice little funnel. For me, it's the right combination of the front of my body being long and active and keeping my back wide, right? That's a tricky place for people, but with practice, we get it. Okay, relax. And again, bottom to top, sides around, and then internally connecting the front body, the front ribs just kind of feel like they draw to the pubic bone, And then you can see in my shirt that my mid back is not super wide, is not super out of place. Okay, so, all right, one more time. You gave me this little idea. Your 3-dimensional breath, top to bottom, side to side, forward and back. This breath is going to connect your spine, so you have you have a very long spine here, but then just kind of just observe, does everybody see this nice little natural arch I have in my lower part of my spine? And then my mid body comes back, and then I have a nice little arch through the base of my neck. Okay, that's my natural spine. So if I flatten myself like this, right, it's not flatten my back and stay resting back on my pelvis. It is relax my hips, get through all the muscles of my pelvis. And if I'm right on top of my sits bones, I'm going to have my natural arch of my back. Okay? So I know that's probably a different topic, but the 3-dimensional breath, I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed putting it together for you. When we discuss it more in detail here, I mean, it's more nuances of things. It's important to remember that that's always available for you. You don't have to be exercising in a class. You don't have to be physically very, rhythmically and aggressively moving your body in something that's very structured to simply breathe well. These are things I sneak in at home a lot with my family, and my kids don't know it yet, but I sneak it in regularly for them. And when they are freaking out about something, or if I'm freaking out about something, the first thing we'll do is kind of release our back a bit and then just breathe well. Okay, so it works. There's a lot of wonderful information out there if you want to explore it more, or just ask us some questions. We're happy to lead you in a direction, of our other professionals that teach in other realms of mental psychology work, right? And neuroscience work, nervous system, and of course the exercise. We teach the art of exercise and balance of your movement. So have a great day. See you later.